Deciphering acne-safe and non-comedogenic claims. I'm Cherie, a cosmetic chemist, and let's do a deep dive into this topic. So this deep dive was really prompted by my previous post in which I discussed 5 controversial skincare TikTok topics, and this was by far the most that was commented on. The most confusion was in the comment section, so I decided to do a deep dive for you guys today. So let's just quickly go through the contents. I'm going to talk about comedogenicity, what it means, the timeline of the development of the comedogenic scale, rabbit versus human models, limitations of each, and then how a formula can be classified as non-comedogenic even though it contains comedogenic ingredients, what testing can brands perform to classify their products as acne safe, and finally how to navigate acne safe claims. Let's start off with the definition of comedogenicity and what does it mean. So comedogenicity refers to the likelihood of an ingredient or a product to clog pores, thus leading to acne and breakouts. Now this was introduced way back in the 1970s by 2 scientists, Kligman and Mills, who coined the term acne cosmetica. So they took individual chemicals and would rank them on a scale from 0 to 5, with 0 being the chemical is completely non-comedogenic, so has no ability to clog pores, and 5 being a chemical that's severely comedogenic, so highly likely to clog pores. So this seems like a really simple and straightforward concept, but I'm going to be taking you now through the timeline of the evolution of the comedogenic scale and why it's not as reliable as it may seem. Way back in 1972, Albert Kligman and James Fulton invented the comedogenic scale based on initial studies on rabbits' ears. They applied substances to the inside of rabbits' ears and waited a few weeks to see if their pores would get clogged. And to no surprise, some ingredients did cause pore blockage in rabbits' ears, and so they were very useful for early testing methods. And with the success of their rabbit skin model, 10 years later, Kligman and Mills decided to carry on their experiments, but this time on human back skin. However, to their surprise, their results differed significantly from their initial rabbit ear experiment, to which they discovered a lot of false positives. So in 1989, the American Academy of Dermatology organized a symposium in attempts to help standardize their testing method, to which they concluded that if a substance didn't cause clogged pores in the rabbit ear model, then it was unlikely to do so on human skin. Over time, criticism grew around the rabbit ear testing model and the comedogenic scale, to a point where Kligman himself acknowledged its limitations in his 1996 paper. Fast forward all the way to 2006, where Drelos and Donato conducted a pivotal study re-evaluating the acne cosmetica concept and the comedogenic scale. And their study revealed that highly comedogenic ingredients, when sufficiently diluted to be used in cosmetic formulations, become significantly less comedogenic. To which they concluded, quote, finished products using comedogenic ingredients are not necessarily comedogenic. And a year later, in 2007, the rabbit's ear model was essentially completely discredited. And by 2013, 3 scientists conducted a study with 910 post-adolescent participants and concluded that the association between overall cosmetic use and post-adolescent acne was inverse. So the greater cosmetic exposure, the less the association with acne. What takeaways can we make from the 50 years of research on the acne cosmetica and comedogenic scale concept? I think the most obvious point to make was that the rabbit ear model was not very accurate when it came to determining whether an ingredient can cause acne on human faces. We can also say that some ingredients that are known to cause acne on their own at super high concentrations, when they become significantly diluted to be actually used in cosmetic formulations, they are much less likely to be comedogenic, if not non-comedogenic altogether. We can also say that more recent studies have definitely challenged this concept of acne cosmetica, aka cosmetic ingredients and products that cause acne, and so it goes against what was initially thought back in the 1970s. Finally, I think it's safe to say that understanding what makes skincare products good or bad for acne is really hard to test and test consistently, but what's more important is to make sure that your products are safe and they actually work. Now let's briefly talk through the limitations of both the rabbit ear and the human models in the testing of acne cosmetica over this past 50 years. Starting off with the rabbit ears, I think it's pretty obvious its limitations. Rabbit ears have larger pores than human facial skin, which made them a lot more sensitive to pore clogging ingredients, which is what led to a lot of false positive results in the first place. And there were a few obvious limitations when it came to the human back skin models. We know that the human back skin, again, is not the same composition as the skin on the face, so the testing would not accurately reflect how products would react on human facial skin. We must also note that the subjects chosen had enlarged pores on their back and were prone to acne, so it's only only representing a small group of people, which will limit how well the findings would apply across the board. The products were also tested under unusual and unrealistic conditions. The products were applied to human back skin and then covered with bandages for weeks, so this is not reflective of real-life conditions of how people use cosmetic products on their face. And of course, we do have to note this small sample sizes across the 50 years of research. And all this just goes to show how challenging it is to develop accurate and consistent testing methods. Now let's answer the question, how can a formula be classified as non-comedogenic or acne safe even though there's comedogenic ingredients present in the formula? Taking my spicy food analogy, even if you have a few spicy ingredients, how much you use and what you mix it with will really determine how spicy your dish will turn out to be. And as the saying goes, the dose makes the poison. So similar to cooking, the quantity of a chemical in a skincare product, as well as its interaction with other chemicals and solvents, will significantly impact its pore clogging potential. So just as everyone has varying spice tolerances, individual skin responses differ too. So what may cause pore congestion for one person may not necessarily have the same effect for another. And we also need to note that acne is a complex skin condition, and it's not just influenced by what is applied to the skin. Your acne is influenced by factors like the environment, your skin's microbiome, hormones, etc. So really and truly, you can't judge a book, or in this case an ingredients list, by its cover. Moving on to what testing can brands perform to classify their products as acne safe or non-comedogenic. It's important to note here that when you come across terms like acne safe and non-comedogenic on your skincare products, these terms are not regulated by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, and so they are classified as unregulated terms. So this means that essentially there is no set definition for what makes a product acne safe or non-comedogenic, and so brands don't have to follow strict rules to come out with these products. Now, some brands may go to the extent of producing their own testing and results, and they'll probably stick the labels clinically proven or clinically tested on their products, but it doesn't mean their products underwent clinical trials, just that a set number of participants have tested their product for a set number of days. But really, when it comes to testing, there's only two kinds. We will have a human perception study test or an instrumental study test, or both. Now, I'm going to go through some examples just to show you what each mean. Let's take this first example. This brand has used the word clinically proven, and what they mean by that is that they used only a human perception study in which a group of participants tested their product for a certain period of days and had to comment on what they felt about their skin before and after. It's not the most reliable, but at least it gives some insights. Moving on to this second example where the brand used a combination of a human perception and instrumental study, whilst we get some more information about the characteristics of the participants, we don't get information on the type of instrument used in this study. As you can see, I put a question mark here because they've given quite a lot of statistical information, but they have not specified what instrument they used. In a final example, we again have a combination of human perception and instrumental study. Whilst less information is provided about the participants, at least we get information on what type of instrument was used in this study, which in this case was a corneometry test. So we can see that there's so much variability amongst brands with how much information they're willing to disclose about their testing and their results. Let's finish off with how to navigate acne safe claims and some do's and don'ts in my opinion. So I would say to, in the do section, maintain a discerning approach when encountering labels like non-comedogenic and acne safe. We now know that we can't just read an ingredients list and cherry pick what we want from it. We should also conduct our thorough research, engage and seek reviews from people that have similar skin types and similar skin concerns to us. And also, if you can, try before you buy, because the best way to test out a product is to test it on yourself. Here are some don'ts, in my opinion, that will help you navigate acne safe claims. So I would say don't just blindly accept claims, whether it's from brands and influencers. Practice mindful consumption of content, and while they may be promoting products that they think are good for you with good intentions, what works for them may not automatically work for you. I'd also say don't trust unregulated marketing claims. There's so much oversimplification and generalizations, and remember that non-comedogenic ingredients could be a good starting point in your journey, but it's definitely not an end point. Finally, don't ignore your own experience. When trying out new products, ideally try them out one at a time and take into consideration your skin type, your skin needs and skin concerns. One size doesn't fit all, and that's okay. With this presentation, I want to conclude that I hope I've given you a little bit more context behind the nuance behind the idea of acne safe and acne unsafe products, and the fact that science is far from black and white. I also encourage you guys to click the link in my bio where I will make this presentation available alongside my references and resources list so that you guys can draw your own conclusions around this very complex topic.